dodging like strays. Climbing out the gutter, I am real like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink, break the.
All right, welcome to another episode of the King's Effect podcast. We have another incredible guest with us today, Dejr Bostick,
Yeah, Bostick.
Bostick,
Yes.
and he is going to be talking about Black Meditate, his business, and what he does with that. Before we get into that, just kind of like introduce, the audience, like who you are, where you're from, and kind of what you do, and then we can get into the conversation of talking about your business.
Absolutely. Well, I started everything with just an attitude of gratitude. That this moment is what it is. It's needed, right? This conversation is needed. And when you reached out to me, I was just so very grateful just to be able to speak on something I really am passionate about. So I am the founder of Black Men Meditate, and what we're a leadership and wellness firm that deals with corporate wellness programs centered specifically toward Black male professionals or Black professionals, right? And
Mhm.
what we do is we create programs and process systems that help them elevate very quickly, right? Showing them how to deal with anxiety, stress, um, sometimes not being enough, right? Imposter syndrome. How do they physically look? How do they walk into rooms? And what we do is through a course of 9 weeks for our Transcend 9 model or a Transcend X model, which is 12 weeks, we literally journey with you. We put you in a community that there are other like-minded individuals that are saying, hey, we've been there. Keep going, keep pushing, keep believing, keep trusting, right? And
Mhm.
then just from there, we do customized wellness workshops as well as retreats. And it's something I'm absolutely passionate about. And this started during the time of slightly before George Floyd, but George Floyd really kind of pushed the button that how do I now, with the knowledge and wisdom that I've learned in my life, how do I now show Black men how to really thrive, how to reduce anxiety and stress, how to really show up presently, not only in work, but in home and just in life? Because I think we all can agree right now that life is life. And,
Mhm.
and to be a
Yeah.
melanated individual comes with some form of struggle, but I am here to tell you today through our discussion that it doesn't have to be that way, that you can walk in rooms truly and be your authentic and real self. So I'm grateful to be on the show this morning.
Yeah, likewise. I'm glad to have you. But I wanted to get into like the backstory of how it all started.
Yes.
How did the Black Meditate?
Mhm.
How did you become the founder, and like
Yes.
what led you to that point of actually being, wanting to start that company?
Man, are you ready for the real? So what transpired is that I came from a background Marine Corps veteran, HBCU graduate. I've done a lot of major things in my life, right? But there was
Mm,
really never no real balance. It was just me operating in my gifts. That I was just operating the things that were just very natural to me, and from there, things started crumbling. And when they started crumbling, it allowed me to point back to my childhood with my father, which was literally a genius, attended Harvard, Yale, taught us like 4 different languages. He had a mental breakdown when I was 4. And he left me and my sisters on the front steps of an orphanage. And he walked away.
I'm
And
sorry
from
to hear
there,
that.
yeah, I know, man. But what I've learned, Daron, is that sometimes we all have a story, right? A
Mhm.
story that allow us to really navigate and say, look how crazy life can get, but look where I'm able to go to from there. So from that moment, I dealt with trauma unknowingly. I felt that anything I love would leave me. So I showed up
Mhm.
in life, even though I did amazing things in my life, I was showing up only 50, 40% because I was afraid to really push harder because I felt I would be like my dad.
Mhm.
So from there, when I saw the just a culmination of things that I know I needed it. So what I did, I went back to my childhood, right? I revisited the painful moments, right? That was shaping me and making me and breaking me. And I healed that part. And the way that I healed it is that I was very truthful with myself. I asked myself powerful questions. I think that one of the things to transformation is how powerful are the questions that you're asking yourself? Meaning, one of the things I asked is, DJ, who told you you were that? He told you you were lacking. Who told you you were not enough? Right. And when I began to really delve into that place and I was able to get real, authentic answers from myself that were painful, I will not lie to you. Transformation and change is not easy.
Yeah.
especially when you don't have a community. But I was willing to bear that weight. I was willing to take that journey by myself to learn so that later on now I can see why I had to. Now I deal with black men that are dealing with the same thing. So during the time of George Floyd, I wanted to be able to show black men how they can quickly go from chaos to calm. From the time that they saw lights in the rear view, the time that the officer was beside them, how did they ease themselves and calm themselves in a state where they were able to answer versus fidgety? Because at that time, it was getting many black men and black individuals unalive. So I wanted to be able to show something, right? And I would not lie, Daron. It was a heavy task because my thinking was this: in a world of unrest, civil unrest, how do you tell them, "Oh, just be calm"? If you think about it, if you're mad, upset, and angry right now,
Mhm.
I would just be calm. Sometimes it's not that easy. So I had to go a little deeper. Okay, what are the steps, DJ, that they need to take to quickly go? And that led me to breath work, the ability to breathe, how it what it does in the mind, the cortex, the hippocampus, the amygdala. How does it slow these down to where you're not revisiting this trauma over and over again? And that was through something simple as the breath. So before I even teach meditation through Black Men Meditate, I teach breath work because I want to give you something that you can use right now that is scientifically proven to quickly reduce stress and anxiety. I want
Mhm.
to be an example and give black men some tools. So that's what started this journey. It was just a simple thought. Can I give black men tools that I used in my life that is better my life? And I didn't share this during this time of learning all this. I was going through a divorce. I was homeless, but I knew that my better days were still ahead of me.
Mhm.
That moment that I was experiencing at that moment, it was temporary. But there was something greater that was being birthed out of it. And now, 5 years later, I live it. I'm remarried now to the love of my life. And when I tell you a boss, she's city councilwoman, mayor pro tem, first black CEO of the Urban League here where we're at. And now she's a VP of Winnebago Industries, but she is doing it. So in order to come into somebody's life like that, I had to know who I am. Because when you
You
with
had to do
somebody
the work.
like that, say it again.
You had to do the work on yourself in order to be healed, so you can help other people. True.
Absolutely. And when she came, she was not getting a man that was still trying to figure it out. She was getting somebody
Mhm.
that had started and was well into their healing journey. And what I found from there is that me being connected to her healed another element of my life, man. So that's how this journey began. And that's what has allowed it to have so much more meaning for me now is that my mom would always say, DJ, if you have the wherewithal to do it, why wouldn't you? If you have the knowledge to help somebody that you know is struggling right now, why wouldn't you do it? It's one thing to have the knowledge yourself, but it is even more powerful when you're willing to share it unapologetically, not worrying about what you're going to get out of return, but actually authentically really sharing it. So that's what brought us to this journey that I've been on now for the past 6 years, man. And what a ride!
Yeah, that's good to. It's always good to hear the backstory of how people got to where they, were to how they are now.
Yes,
And I think a lot of men need to hear that story because not every man has a success story. Not every
yes,
man has no direction in their life. Some people are homeless. Suicidal thoughts. They just going through a lot right now. But I wanted to ask you another question
absolutely.
in regards to if you think back to before you started Black Men's
Mhm.
Meditate, had you not had that experiences of going through, being left at an orphanage and going through things with your father or the family dynamics there, had you not, do you think that would have not translated over to starting the business, or what do you
Oh,
what do you think? Like, what do you think your future would have been like?
oh, great question. I was on this beautiful path in corporate. Um, I had a desire to deal in a corporate space that allowed me to really move and be just a super entrepreneur. And I am an amazing entrepreneur now. But I think my life would have been more centered around corporate entities. It would have been more centered around just being able to fill the gap that I saw was needed when it came to the disparity among funding resources for Black entrepreneurs versus our counterparts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would have always been my lane. I've all like I love the movie with I mean not Will Smith, but Eddie Murphy, a Distinguished Gentleman. I was fascinated. I wanted to be a businessman. I wanted to wear suits, and I did that for a period of time, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know all that came with that. I was wanted to live out somebody else's dream, right? And I think one of the things I would say for Black men right now is that to find out what's authentic to you. Sometimes we're stuck living somebody else's dream. It could be our parents' dream. It could be our partner's dream, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what is natural to you? What would you do if nobody was willing to pay you? What is authentic to your heart, right? Me going into the corporate space because I know I can make a whole lot of money and coming from where I came from, that was the goal, right? I wanted to be able to say, look, I liberated the family. I freed them. I brought them out, right? But it was so self-centered. It was about me wanting to say, I did it, right? And what
Mm-hmm.
you learn on this journey, this path that we all are on in some capacity, is that we have to deal with the ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to deal with that pride. We have to deal with those things. But my life would have been totally different if I did not have the courage, right? One of the I could talk about 3 C's in my program: courage, consistency, and courage, consistency, and clarity. Right? The courage part is what it takes. I had to be courageous enough to say, you know what, Deidre, you can continue down this path and oh, it's peaches and roses, right? Or you can really go back and say, hey, look, the way that I'm moving is not authentic to me anymore. I don't desire to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I would tell Black men right now, it's okay to want to be something different. You don't have to be stuck in this loophole of what everybody else thinks that you are, right? One of the things that I do with a lot of the men in my family, Daron, is that whenever I meet them again, whether we've not met after a while, I want to know what's new in your life because it's sometimes difficult when a person wants to change to go in the same environments to expect them to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to create falser environments, right? Circles, connections that allow you to be your authentic self, whatever that looks like. No judgment. That's you. That's the person that people can really love when you're showing up every single time and you're that authentic person. So for me, my life would have been totally, man, totally different.
Yeah, that's good to know. Because I think a lot of men really can resonate with this story because you know, they trying to look for some way out of whatever situation they're going through, whether they're a small boy that's about to turn 8,
Mhm.
that's going to dream bigger and better after he graduates, or maybe a 17-year-old boy and he has no direction. He's been in and out of prison systems and stuff like that and I think when I bring successful Black men on here, it's going to help change the narrative that we're not, we don't end up dead, we don't
Yes,
go to jail, we live successful lives.
absolutely.
So my next question is, why do you think the media portrays us in a bad way, or is it just our own community itself
Mhm,
that's holding
mhm.
us each other back from achieving success?
Oh man,
Or,
what a beautiful question.
um,
I think it does start. It starts in our community, right? Um,
mhm,
the media is only doing what it's sent to do. Report the news. Yeah, they skew things and they mirror things, but in various communities, the things that they're talking about are happening, right? The issue is they're not showing the opposite. Like this
mhm,
podcast, they're not showing Black men that saying, yes, it's true, but yes, you can do more. Yes, you can be more. Yes, you can come from nothing and through just what I always say techniques and skills and tools that try to bring yourself out. One of the things that I'm very big on is youth, teaching youth, because I was them. We all were them, right? I know what
mhm.
it's like to get lost here or to be stuck here on this phone trying to live a life that isn't even authentic. Those people are not real.
Yeah.
They're not real. But we're forced in a society through media to say, well, if you're not seeing what we're showing, then you're not doing things right. So my aim is always to lead people back to their most authentic self. The media is doing what they're supposed to do because why? It allows individuals to stay in a debilitated space
Mm-hmm.
where they feel that there is no hope. What we're seeing right now, if I can be honest with Daron, from
Yeah.
my eyes,
Okay.
being in this space right now, what we're seeing right now more than ever before is they're taking away everything that you thought you were, and we're holding on to it, trying to say, well, why are you taking these things away, right? But they don't understand the weight of how it is giving us form of identity, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now I think it is also our opportunity to really band together and be able to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, look, if they're going to take it away as elders, as adults, we're going to continue to teach it, right? But then you have communities that have never seen it. I
Mm-hmm.
share all the time. I never thought this version of a man existed. I'm a lover of an amazing, beautiful wife. I'm a great father. I go out in the community. I'm doing so many things. I never thought this version of a man would, because I never seen him. Not in my communities.
Yeah, I
Oh man,
grew up
my
in.
communities. What you crying for? What you
Yeah.
upset for? Oh, you showing emotions? Why are you
Mm-hmm.
smiling? So in the communities that I came from, it was not the norm. So I expected, oh, well, if this community is a representation of the world, then I got to be this way. So I walked out in the world with no emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely hard for me to show them because I thought it was showing frailty. And in a world that is gung ho on, you gotta be this alpha,
Mm-hmm.
gotta be this man that it. I didn't see a world that resonated with who I was, so I stayed the same. And what
Mm-hmm.
happened is I made a decision to do the first C, which is be courageous and say, well, DJ, this doesn't feel natural to you. So you can either stay as this individual or you can choose to become more. And I chose to become more so that my community now can have an example that no, he really lives it.
Mm-hmm.
He believes it. But he's also authentic to say when he's going through. The men in my program, they know when I'm going through. Like I just had a scare with my son. 6 days he was in the hospital. They were talking about dialysis.
Oh
His
God.
kidneys, and here I am, super fit, wife fit. And I'm like, why is he? So it allowed me to face one of my fears is what do you do when you can't do anything? How do you trust? How do you believe that guess what things will be all right? And I stood on that. I stood on what I knew. I said, son, you're going to be okay. I said, this is the opportunity to believe that healing does belong to you as well. 7 days later, he came out of the hospital. All his levels returned back to normal.
That's very good.
Thing.
Praise God.
And I said, how does that happen? The power of belief. All I'm doing with black men, I'm teaching them how to believe again, how
Mm-hmm.
to dream again, knowing that with certain steps, that whatever you believe and dream, it will manifest itself. It will come to pass. Most
But
of us,
but yeah, I wanted to kind of take
yes,
that conversation into another direction.
go ahead.
Yeah, I know it's easier said than done, and you know when you're in the midst of going through everything you're going through, and you don't see a way out. How do black men have hope when we have a racist president? He's changing all of these policies to the DEI. So it's not now it's going to make it 10 times harder for black people to get jobs, and then also on top of that, they have to go through racism at jobs, and it's
Mhm.
just all and it just feels like as a black man, this was me 10 years ago thinking the way that I am, but I've changed since then,
Mhm.
thinking that the system is stacked against us,
Right,
like
right, right.
there's no way out. So what would you say to me that has that type of mentality that I'm never going to be nothing, I'm never going to achieve anything higher because the system is always trying to keep me down no matter where I'm going? How
Mhm.
can we get out of that mentality as black as
Absolutely. I think you alluded to it previously when you said, I thought about that years ago, but I don't think that way now. Right. So
Mhm.
there's a thing that I say, change your thinking, change your life. We are creating based upon our thoughts. Science has proved it that just thought in water would change the molecules in water. So right then it showed how powerful our thinking is. I think the first thing that we do is we got to shut off the noise, shut off the distractions, shut off the things that are getting your mind to go to a place. One of the things that I deal with heavily is mindset, right? Transformational mindset. Meaning, what are you speaking over yourself? One of the biggest things that I do with the men that come in my program is that we do something called mirror work, right? Every single
Mhm.
morning, I create this morning routine for every brother that's in there, and they get in front of that mirror. And there's certain cadences and things that they're saying at each other, right? Mirror work. Oh my goodness, man. I got chills right now. Give me a second. It is so transformative. When you have been told that you are less than, that you are not enough, and to look in that mirror and tell yourself, and I might get emotional about this, but I live it, that man, I love you, and you're enough. And despite what this world is trying to do to diminish your worth, you have value. And what happens is when most black men specifically get around 35 to 40 and older, the world lulls them to sleep. They get stuck in their ways. You hear them say things like this, man, I ain't gonna change. I've been this way all my life. That's where the issue lies. Because we stop believing that there is more to it. We stop believing that despite this raggedy, I was homeless 6 years ago. Last year, we took 6 international trips. How does that happen? When I was down on my last, I could have believed that, yep, I guess this is where it is. But Daron, I kept believing that. Guess what? No, Dejr. Get your pen and your paper and tell yourself, write who you are, where your life. So one of the things that I have the men do is gratitude statements every morning. I am so happy and grateful now that and you write it. Science, everything, a lot of things I do are science backed because I believe that for when it comes to transformation, that there's some sciences that we can believe in, right? Because it deal
Mhm.
with the neural. They start every statement. I am so happy and grateful now that I am living the life of my dreams, have the body of my dreams. My health is 100%. I'm a great father. I'm a great partner. I'm a great companion. So what it does, it now deals on the psyche that change is now. So for me, I wanted to be able to show them how do you clear the slate and believe in the midst of you not seeing it. I think that's what faith is, right? Biblically, it said faith is the substance of things hoped for. It is a hope, but it's also evident. So the things that I was hoping for has now become evident. When
Walk
I
by
was
faith, I walk by faith, but not walk by
faith and not
sight.
by sight,
Yeah.
you can't see it. Because right now, I had a platform speaking event probably a month ago. And I said in there, I said, many of you now are gonna run to your friends and say, can you believe you're looking at this TV and saying, I can't believe all is lost. Look what the president doing. I said, nothing that is going on in that White House would change what I've been called to do in this earth. And if you don't believe that, I don't know what to tell you.
And I think part of the problem is we hold our own self down. We get our own ego or thoughts get in our
Yes.
own ways of succeeding in life. And it's
And
not
if you
always just about the system, you know?
absolutely. And if you think about it, if your thoughts are doused in negativity, and you're going back to that place to get the answers to this world, what you think you're going to get? You're going to get negative thoughts. You're going to get negative solutions, negative outcomes. But if you're able to return back to a self that knows how to deal with breath work, that knows how to calm the nervous system, the vagus system, knows how to calm the mind. When you're able to sit still for more than 5 minutes and not worry about your brain going all over the place, now I can trust, right? I can
Mhm.
trust my wise counsel. And I got a community of brothers that I'm able to say, hey, look, brothers, this is what I'm internally going through. I'm not understanding my wife in this instant. She said something that offended me. Or my son is dealing with something and I don't know what to tell him because I never experienced it before. When you add a circle and a community that fosters your growth, you were created to succeed. Your success is inevitable. But the key is how do we now get that message out that hey, it's not over. And that's for me, it's doing podcasts like this My social media platform, YouTube. My YouTube page has 100 plus videos on meditation and mindfulness.
Hmm.
So it's about authentically showing up as the best version of yourself, whether you like it or not. There are many times I step on stage and I look out there and nobody looks like me, and
Speak
I
on that.
and I have to be like, okay, okay, DJ, right? But how do I also step on stage and be authentic to me? Because at the end of the day, you never know who will hear that message and share it with somebody that really needs it. And that's what my mom's kind of words come back to me. Where she say, if you have the wherewithal to do it, DJ, why wouldn't you? So I think that's what we do. We change our mindset. We start getting on a 30-day, 28 to 30-day plan of every day telling something positive to yourself. The mirror work, I would tell you, Daron, is extremely difficult. Because now we're not used to looking at ourselves in the mirror
Hmm.
and telling ourselves something positive, or we do it jokingly. Because that's how I did it. The first few days I did it, I was just like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Right? Looking all over the place, not really
But you
looking.
really mean it.
There it is. Now I feel the love I have for myself, and I show up authentically in that place.
All right. All right. I just got a final question here before we
Yeah,
wrap up. I do thank you for coming on here.
my honor.
The final question is, what would you say to me and that is really going through it? They don't have any direction in their life right now, and they, you know, they might have a business and they're really struggling with it. They're trying to get it off the ground, and you know, they see other people like their white counterparts being more successful than them with the business than they are. What would you say to that? Potential entrepreneur that's really struggling to get his feet off the ground. What would you say to him?
Absolutely. I think the first thing I would say is an old proverb. And it said, "To thy own self be true." Right? The distraction is looking at somebody else's yard, wanting your grass to be the same. Everybody has their journey, right? I was sharing
Mhm.
this with my godson that plays college football, and some of his counterparts are D1. They're rookie of the year and everything, and he's like, "Man, I was better than all of them." He said, "Why? Why had?" I said, "You chose a journey. You chose to do things differently, right?" The key is to get to the authenticity of how you want to show up in this world and what you want to create. When you understand that whatever you're creating right now is needed for somebody, you won't worry about anything else, right? I am creating this for the people, man. I'm gonna say this and we're gonna be done. When I first started Black Men Meditate, people were asking, "Well, how do you know men need it?" I said, "I don't." I said, "I'm just speaking to an old version of me, showing that version of me how to get here." So there's a version of that entrepreneur right now that is struggling with what you do with ease right now, right? Put that information out there to help them get to their next level. There's a Dejr that's out here that is homeless, going through marital issues, that father left them, so they're dealing with anxiety, they're dealing with imposter, but they have a natural gift. Because I had a natural gift, so it allowed me to play college football. And I didn't even know about my college 3 days before I walked on the campus, 2 days, and then ended up with a full football and track scholarship.
That's amazing.
So at that moment, there's somebody else like that. So what allowed you to get from there to here? And I created a program. I created a process that allowed me to now, when I was at my lowest, I created a blueprint to get to my best. And for any entrepreneur that's listening right now, the world needs your gift. Don't quit now. Now I'm gonna look in the camera. Do not quit. Your gift is needed. You were created, you were put on this earth for now. And everything you need is already inside of you. The journey, my friend, the journey is to take the journey wherever it takes you, knowing that it will bring you to your best self, your highest self. So do not quit right now. And I can't wait to see you in time.
Yeah, I second that everything that he says. Do not quit. We need you. And especially in this political climate right now. We need more entrepreneurs. They are our future. You know, we want you to succeed. You know, you have to keep pushing through the struggles and the hurdles. Because look at Tyler Perry. Look at where he's at right now. Like, if he was struggling, getting his plays, trying to get people weren't watching them,
Laughing at them, talking
laughing at
about them.
him, talking about him. You know, living in his car, having to eat out of garbage cans, all of that. Like, and look at where he at now. So that he's a living body and testament that
Absolutely.
you can come from the struggle, but
Yes.
rise to the top. And if
Absolutely.
that's not motivation enough, I don't know what to tell you.
That's real.
All right. It was good talking to you, Dejr.
Yes.
I really am excited to continue to have future collaborations with you.
Please
If
do.
you want to come back on,
Yes.
meet my other guy friends, more than welcome to do that.
Please.
And just stay put. I just want to have a little discussion after.
No worries.
So.
Fight, dodging like strays, climbing out the gutter, I am real like the frame, wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon.